Harris's plan to stop price gouging of groceries, and mainly the fact that the pushback has been pretty aggressive. And of course, this comes from clips. Here's like a little bit of a super cut of some of the things she's been saying on the campaign trail.
Everyday prices are too high. It feels so hard to just be able to get ahead. The bills add up. Food, rent, gas, back to school clothes, prescription medication, the cost of food. A loaf of bread costs 50% more. Ground beef is up almost 50%. There's a serious housing shortage. The price of housing has gone up. It's too difficult to build, and it's driving prices up. It is out of reach. The size of down payments have gone up as well. Costs are still too high. There's not much left at the end of the month.
One speech where she was talking about this, and of course, one of the clips that isn't in there, she said, of course, this is a lot of it happened since the pandemic, which means what? Of course, that means during your administration, when you were, I don't know, the number 2 person in the country, the vice president of the United States. But for some reason, we're told, trust her to fix these problems when she's had over 3.5 years to do something about it. But of course, it's gotten worse and worse. This is essentially an incumbent president in many ways, and we have to start treating it that way. And of course, even the news, even CNN, even some of the big, more liberal-leaning platforms have started pushback on this.
CNN's headline is Harris's plan to stop price gouging could create more problems than it solves. Washington Post had an opinion article that basically said that now the problems of now cause for serious measures, and she only offers gimmicks. And unfortunately for the American people, we're the ones that would suffer under these types of plans that she's putting forward. This was her very first big policy rollout, and it was to take from the playbook of socialist and communist countries, the Soviet Union, Venezuela, and countries of that nature of, hey, pricing's out of control because of what we've done as an administration. So what we're going to do is we're going to fix the prices. We're going to make sure that the companies, the chains of grocery stores, they're not charging you too much. We're going to set prices.
The Harris campaign, as they are saying, hey, trust us. We're going to get your cost of fuel down. We're going to get the cost of groceries down. We're going to stop price gouging. We're going to do all of these things.
That's right. You heard the speech and you're sitting there and like, really? Your top line issue is going to be price fixing and stopping, quote, price gouging or gauging, as she said. What was your takeaway when you thought this is what her big rollout is?
I thought about Javier Milei. Who is Javier Milei? The president of Argentina. And he has said if printing money would end poverty, printing diplomas would end stupidity. Milei's comments explains why prices are simply too high in the United States and why Kamala Harris's economic policies are indeed unworkable and will backfire. So the Biden administration, if you really look at their claims, they falsely claimed that the inflation rate, for instance, was 9% when Biden took office. In reality, the inflation rate was 1.4%, and the inflation rate peaked in June of 2022 at 9.2%. Kamala Harris, for instance, notes that the cost of a loaf of bread is now up 50%, that ground beef is up 50%. Overall food prices are up 20%. So she doesn't seem to understand reality, and she doesn't understand who causes inflation. It's government policy and the Federal Reserve's willingness to print money. So if we take government out of the equation, guess what? Prices are likely to remain flat. That's number one. And then number two, if we return to Trump economic policies, including energy independence, guess what? Prices are likely to fall. So one of the things that we should keep in mind is that Kamala Harris doesn't understand that her policies would actually worsen things. As a commentator recently pointed out, if you look at Venezuela, if you look at Cuba, if you look at the Soviet Union, what has happened? We've had shortages, and in Venezuela, people have been reduced to eating zoo animals.
One, to get passed in Congress, it has to be told how it's going to be funded, how it's going to cost other parts of the economy when you start to put these in place. She has no answer for that. Instead says, look to the future. It's going to be great. What are your thoughts?
What she is basically attempting to do is to drive up inflationary spending. So we should expect inflation to rise in the short run. We should then expect the Federal Reserve to do what? To raise interest rates, basically crushing home ownership. Simultaneously, she's talking about giving a $25,000 credit to new home buyers. Again, that's inflationary. So she doesn't understand that her policy initiatives will actually drive up the inflationary rate in the United States. And guess what? Under the Biden-Harris administration, not only have they driven up inflation, approaching almost 10%, they have driven down employment of native-born Americans. And so the Biden-Harris regime has basically opened the borders to illegal and legal immigrants, and the employment rate for native-born Americans has actually fallen during the Biden-Harris administration.
I've been thinking about just how ridiculous the regulations are. Bringing down the cost of living would seem to be the wisest approach. The Democrats just want to regulate the heck out of everything.
The best that she can do with the hand that's been dealt her is an admission that Bidenomics has not been great, but doubling down with price fixing and price controls from the government historically is a disaster.
Yeah,
so that is not the way to move forward. The most liberal papers in the country, Washington Post, CNN, are all saying that. So
I did see who someone's put the Washington Post, which obviously is owned by
Bezos,
who also, I believe, owns Whole Foods or one of those.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, yeah, no wonder he doesn't want you to cap food. The man owns grocery stores
and the most
expensive grocery stores. They're like, no, we can't be doing this.
A lot of the regulations that go into building has also driven up the price of housing, as well as the material cost. I mean, you saw how much lumber skyrocketed, especially after the pandemic when Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were in office. But now, as they're trying to say that they are going to lower housing cost and try to bring down that number, she's also introducing plans like specific $25,000 credits and tax credits that would go for these new home buyers, which whenever you start having these mandated government things, what it ends up doing is raising the price by $25,000. So you're in effect hurting the economy, hurting the price of housing, which is out of control. Yeah. It is absolutely ridiculous how much it costs to live in the United States at this point, but they're going to harm it more than help it if they're able to get these policies through.